Have you ever felt so drained by your job or your life that you feel like you are no longer human? In this video, I am going to be analyzing the famous and heavy novel, The Metamorphosis. By Kafka, we will explore how Gregor's transformation mirrors the pressure of modern life and precisely the concept of burnout. I am Zachariah, and this is my channel, Blessing Knowledge. I hope you enjoy this video, and if so, please press the like button and prove your presence by commenting. I would appreciate your constructive feedback, so let's proceed. What is burnout? Burnout is an emotional, mental, and physical state in which a person is exhausted and drained due to prolonged pressure or stress, especially at work. Burnout is shown in symptoms that we are always confronted with in our daily lives or others. Firstly, the feeling that you're detached. In Kafka's novel, Gregor used to be a hard worker who had never taken a break or delayed a duty. He was known to prioritize his job's duties above everything. However, how much time can a rational and normal person sustain all the pressure? Secondly, the loss of motivation. George's metamorphosis was a predictable reaction, as Newton's law states. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. George turned from being so dedicated and hardworking to a bug that needs to be fed. After his metamorphosis, he felt a sort of relief that he no longer needed to hold responsibilities more than a human being could handle. And with this specific thought comes the third symptom, the feeling of uselessness. When George ceased to work, a devastating feeling accompanied that event. The one who used to be appreciated and who was in charge of the family became unable to serve himself. The last symptom is physical fatigue. In Kafka's novel, George feels pain that he has never paid attention to. His muscles are so drained that he can't even stand the weight of his own body, until he stopped resisting and died in peace as he did, and had the same value that he used to have. Now let's go back to his transformation into a bug and what we can learn from that. Gregor, as we have mentioned, was seen as a tool, not a person. And this was clear when his boss came after the metamorphosis, for this was unusual. The transformation of Gregor wasn't until the day of his metamorphosis. He was exploited and treated as a bug even before becoming one. He was unseen as a human being, but as a machine that works until it becomes no longer valuable and is thrown away. Exploring the most provocative quote, he would have used his arms and hands to push himself up. But instead of them, he only had all those little legs. The profound and symbolic meaning behind this quote is that, as a human being, he had his arms that through them he lives. His value and identity lay in his legs and arms. However, after the metamorphosis, he found out his losing his parts. Instead, he was replaced by little legs that weren't capable of doing anything. He had lost the parts, and with them, lost his identity, so he became no longer valuable to the world. Gregor has literally lost his arms, but symbolically, he had already lost his sense of self through the cruelty of his job. This can be absorbed from the quote, "He was a tool of the boss, without brains or backbone." The next step is social isolation, where the protagonist is isolated from the world, including the closest members of his family. He isn't visited and becomes a burden to his family and society, Kafka stated. Now he hardly ate anything anymore. One of the toughest periods that the protagonist faced was when he lacked recognition. It didn't matter to the society how much he had done and served throughout his whole life. Once he lost his ability to work, he became valueless. The officer turned his back on him right after the first sight, and gradually his family did too. The office manager was already shouting at him. Lastly, the physical impact. Burnout causes real physical deterioration. Gregor lost his power eventually, and death became no longer so far. It didn't take more than surrendering. Kafka wasn't directly talking about burnout, but he meticulously pointed out the developments of a character under the feeling of being crushed by obligation. In modern terms, burnout is not a weakness. It's a signal that something is wrong with the system around us. Kafka shows how the system can devalue, exhaust, and isolate the individual. In the novel, the system included his family too. And here comes the expression that you have read, which is the lesson of today's video. You aren't a bug, you're burned out. You're still a human who deserves care and love. Kafka never tells us how Gregor became a bug, because that's not the point. The point is how we treat those who can no longer perform. In a brutal capitalist society, you're precious as long as you work. Many people only want you to make use of you. Nevertheless, Your true value lies inside of you. In Kafka's novel, George doesn't die until he has lost hope in himself. This is a video where we have related a profound novel to our modern life. This is the concept of my channel. If you are interested in these types of videos, you may enjoy what is coming. So subscribe and activate the bell to receive new notifications. Thank you for watching.